Two people, one land, and over a century of bloodshed, hope, and broken promises. This is the story of Israel and Palestine. Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Infinity Info. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's one of the longest running and most emotionally charged conflicts in modern history. A story of two peoples tied to the same land, driven by deeply rooted national, religious, and historical identities. For Israelis, it's a struggle for security and the survival of a Jewish homeland. For Palestinians, it's a fight for self-determination, dignity, and freedom in the land they've called home for generations. In this video, we trace the history, not just the battles and politics, but the human stories and the forces that have made peace so elusive. Before the State of Israel existed, the land was part of the Ottoman Empire. For centuries, Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived under varying degrees of coexistence in a multi-ethnic society. But by the late 1800s, the rise of nationalism in Europe sparked major change. Jewish communities, facing persecution and pogroms, began organizing a return to what they called Eretz Israel, the biblical land of Israel. This movement became known as Zionism, as Jewish immigrants began arriving, purchasing land, and building settlements. The local Arab population, mostly Muslim Palestinians, started feeling threatened. They feared economic displacement and political domination. Tensions grew slowly but steadily, laying the foundation for future clashes. After World War I, Britain took control of Palestine under the League of Nations mandate. In 1917, the British issued the Balfour Declaration, promising support for a Jewish national home in Palestine, while also assuring the rights of existing Arab communities. It was a contradiction that inflamed both sides. Through the 1920s and 1930s, Jewish immigration increased dramatically, especially as anti-Semitism intensified in Europe. Palestinians protested, often violently, fearing they were losing control of their homeland. Britain struggled to manage the chaos, balancing Jewish aspirations with Palestinian resistance, while clamping down on both. The situation spiraled, leading to large-scale revolts, massacres, and deepening hatred. By 1947, after years of violence, the United Nations proposed partitioning Palestine into two states, one Jewish, one Arab. Jerusalem would be an international city. Jews accepted the plan, seeing it as a long-awaited homeland. Palestinians and surrounding Arab states rejected it, arguing it gave disproportionate land to the Jewish minority. On May 14, 1948, Israel declared independence. The next day, 5 Arab armies invaded. Israel, though outnumbered, survived and even gained more territory than originally allotted. Over 700,000 Palestinians were displaced or fled during the fighting. For Israelis, it was a war of independence. For Palestinians, it was al-Nakba, the catastrophe. In June 1967, regional tensions boiled over into the Six-Day War. Israel struck preemptively, defeating Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. It seized the Gaza Strip, West Bank, East Jerusalem, Sinai Peninsula, and Golan Heights. The victory was staggering, but it marked the start of a long and complex military occupation. Palestinians living in the West Bank and Gaza suddenly found themselves under Israeli control. Israel began building settlements in these areas, arguing historical and security claims. But Palestinians saw it as colonization, a way to erase their future. The Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, emerged as the primary representative of the Palestinian people. It initially used armed struggle to fight Israel, carrying out attacks that drew worldwide attention and condemnation. Israel responded with raids, invasions, and assassinations. The conflict extended into Lebanon, triggering a bloody civil war and Israeli invasions. In 1982, Israel laid siege to Beirut. Thousands of civilians died. Meanwhile, the Palestinian cause gained recognition at the United Nations, though the violence alienated many. By the late 1980s, Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza had lived under occupation for 20 years. In 1987, frustration exploded into the First Intifada, a widespread civil uprising. It began with stone-throwing youths and spread to strikes, protests, and boycotts. Israel responded with curfews, mass arrests, and sometimes lethal force. The world watched as teenagers faced off against tanks. The Intifada changed the narrative. Palestinians were seen not just as refugees or militants, but as an occupied people demanding basic rights. 1993, a secret dialogue led to the Oslo Accords. Israel and the PLO recognized each other. Palestinians gained limited self-rule in parts of the West Bank and Gaza. The world celebrated, hope was alive, but Oslo had flaws. Key issues, refugees, Jerusalem, final borders, were postponed. Extremists on both sides opposed it. In 1995, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated by a right-wing Israeli. The process faltered, though it didn't fully collapse. In 2000, talks broke down. Violence erupted again, the Second Intifada. This time, suicide bombings hit Israeli cafes, buses, and malls. Israel launched military operations into Palestinian cities. The death toll soared on both sides. Israel began constructing a massive wall, what it calls a security barrier. Palestinians call an apartheid wall. It cuts through farmland and neighborhoods, separating families and communities. Trust shattered. Oslo's dream faded. Hamas, an Islamist movement, won Palestinian elections. A year later, it violently took control of Gaza. Israel imposed a blockade, citing security. Since then, several wars have erupted: 2008, 2012, 2014, and beyond. Thousands of civilians have died: rockets, airstrikes, blackouts, food shortages. Gaza remains a humanitarian crisis. Israel says it's defending its people. Palestinians say they're being collectively punished. Meanwhile, the West Bank has become increasingly fragmented. Israeli settlements, often on strategic hills, dot the landscape. Settlers receive state support and protection. Palestinians face restrictions on movement, land use, and building. Some compare the situation to apartheid. Others say it's the reality of a decades-long military occupation. The map of a future Palestinian state looks more like Swiss cheese, disconnected and fragile. Tensions flared again in 2021, centered around Jerusalem and Sheikh Jarrah. Protests were met with force. Hamas fired rockets. Israel responded with airstrikes. Civilians suffered. Recent years have seen continued violence, including large-scale Israeli military operations and Palestinian attacks. International condemnations come and go, but the situation remains unresolved. Today, Israel is a regional power. Palestinians are politically divided. Between Hamas in Gaza and the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, peace feels more distant than ever. Some advocate for a two-state solution. Others argue that reality has made that impossible and call for a single, equal state for all. But distrust runs deep. Without justice and mutual recognition, the cycle of violence is likely to continue. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is more than politics or religion. It's about fear and hope, displacement and identity, trauma and resilience. For every wall built, every life lost, there are also voices calling for peace, for coexistence. This conflict has endured for generations, but peace is still possible. Understanding history in all its complexity is the first step. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more informative videos. If you have any queries, you can ask in the comments section. Have a good day.